And I just wanted to welcome everybody. Also, just I wanted to acknowledge where we are. In these challenging times, I think it's important to, put our feet on the ground and stay grounded and understand that everything happens for a reason. And so I just honor being here in Mohkinstis. I honor living here in Calgary. It's just been my home, and I feel so safe and so warm and so welcomed here. And I have learned so much by so many different elders of the different nations that surround here. So I firstly want to thank the Blackfoot of Siksika, Kainai, and Pagani. I have so many elders from knowledge keepers and friends from all of those nations, and it's such a blessing to be able to learn so many different ways of knowing, so many different stories, songs, but I never am able to remember the songs. But it's such a blessing to be able to learn. I honor the tsutsuna. I used to go out there all the time to pick medicines. Now it's been a little bit of a challenge because everything is being built, and a lot of the places that I would traditionally go to pick medicines aren't there anymore. But I've still had a whole host of wonderful teachers from out there, wonderful elders and knowledge keepers, storytellers, and wonderful people out there who have really deeply connected me to the land. And I just love the energy out there. There's something really, really special and powerful out there. I also honor the Stony Nakota. So I was actually just out there on the weekend, right by the land. I was at a sweat, and it was just so beautiful to just deeply connect with the land. There's something so magical as soon as you drive in and you just see those mountains. You're just filled with such wonder and joy, and it just overcomes you with such beauty. And so I think the Stony Dakota, I think everyone in Morley, the Chiniki, the Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations, I think sometimes when we look at it, we forget to distinguish it, but we do have three separate nations up there, and they all have different teachings and different stories and different ways to connect to the land and different ceremonies. And so it's important to recognize that and respect that. And so just to welcome everybody into the circle today, wherever you might be. I always like to start with the Cree welcome song. Traditionally, when we sing songs, we sing in rounds of four to honor the four directions of the medicine wheel. But this song is a little bit different. We actually sing it in rounds of three, and that's to keep the circle open and welcoming so everyone completes the circle today. Because in a circle, we're all connected. There's no beginning, there's no end. No one is greater or less than anyone else in the circle, just like in the hoop of life. It reminds us that a circle is always inclusive. The circle can always get bigger to incorporate everybody within it. And that's what this song really honors. It honors everybody's unique abilities and unique gifts, because we all have so much to give if we just trust in ourselves, we trust in our intuition, and we trust the gifts that we have to give to community. It's such an important lesson to learn at any age, is that everything that you have is important. Everything that you are is important, and you have a place in your community. No matter what community you're in, you have a place. There's a reason that you're there. It's just about taking ownership of the gifts that you have and being able to share them in a good way, without, letting ego interfere, without letting judgment interfere, without letting fear take hold and limit your ability to share. And so this song is really just about honoring your place and honoring everyone else's place in community. It's about coming together without judgment, just with that acceptance and unconditional love. It also teaches us really about honoring each other and knowing that we're not going to agree 100% of the time. But it's when we can come together and find those compromises that makes our community resilient. You can't be right all the time, but you also have to be humble when you are wrong. And so sometimes when we can come together and find those compromises, we find that middle ground where we can make everything work. And so just to welcome everybody, with this song, I honor the Nataha family from Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation, who has shared this song with so many different people. And it's been a beacon of hope to me. It fills my heart with such joy when I share it. And I just love just the message behind it. And I thank that family for keeping this song alive. That's okay. I haven't started singing yet, Winnie. You're good. But so I'm really humbled and thankful to be in the time that we're in now, because I can share these songs. I can share these stories. I can wear my regalia, because for so many years we couldn't. And there's a lot of teachings, and a lot of medicines that were lost in my family. And I'm slowly but surely starting to recover them, picking them apart. And I think that's really the job of our next generations, is to find those pieces of lost knowledge, and that guidance that we need, not only from our elders but from our two-spirit people who channel that medicine through them and channel those old teachings through them. We all have that ability to connect with our ancestors deeply. I think the issue is our society doesn't let us honor that aspect of ourselves. We have a prove it society, but sometimes you just can't prove it. Sometimes you just know. And so when I sing this song, it's about trusting in yourself, trusting in everyone around you, and knowing that you're on the right path, but also welcoming everyone into the circle. Miyasin doesn't just mean welcome, it also means beautiful. Miyasin, Miyasin, Hasemina, Hasemina, Epetakote, Niwagomagan, Hota, Homa, Kitaskino, Miyasin, Miyasin, Hasemina, Hasemina, Epetakote, Niwagomagan, Hota, Homa, Kitaskino, Miyasin, Miyasin, Hasemina, Hasemina, Epetakote, Niwagomagan, Hota, Homa, Kitaskino. Hi, and welcome to the circle today, everybody. Hey, Taylor. I just wanted to give a shout out to Taylor and Miss Kay for doing the amazing work that you did on the weekend with all of your incredible people and helpers. I think it's really important to take care of everyone in our society, to take care of those less fortunate. When we have something to give, we should give it, because it makes no sense to hang on to something that we have too much of. In our teachings, it's all about balance. We always have to give something before we take anything. We always have to make sure that if somebody is suffering, we give them something in return so that we're all equal, because in Creator's eyes, we're all equal. So it's really important to maintain that and show how we respect and honor each other in the circle. I also wanted to talk a little bit about my skirt. So this was actually the first skirt that I'd ever made, and I was really excited to make it, but it's a little narrow. But it teaches me that there's always room for improvement. I was trying to make it so perfect, but no matter what we do, there's no such thing as perfection. It's important to honor that imperfection that's all around us. It's important to honor our mistakes, because how else are we going to learn if we don't make mistakes? And it's also really, really important to acknowledge that we all have places to grow. We need that growth in order to sustain ourselves and really learn about the world around us. And perfection doesn't let us do that. There is these traditional teachings that around perfection, that there's no such thing as perfection. Nothing in the world is perfect. This is why we're all made with our hearts on the left-hand side, because nothing's perfect. Anything in nature, actually, I love it when science proves things we've done for thousands of years. Anything in nature that's actually perfectly symmetrical, perfectly aligned, or perfect, usually dies within the first few minutes after birth, or if it does last, it's actually killed by other members of its species because it's, you know, seen as something that's very, very wrong. So it's really interesting that us as humans are like, perfect is like an attainable goal. It's not. It's never going to be. So it's really about just honoring your flaws and rocking them. You know I'm not perfect, but when I stop working on those things, I lose sight of what's important. And so, yeah. But I also wanted to just start. Well, first I want to acknowledge something very beautiful. So this is one of my drums that I have made. This is a Mikma style drum, and so you can tell it's Mikma because it almost looks like a little bit of a almost like a snowflake. It's very unique. When we make it, it really teaches us about patience, because oh my gosh, if you rush it, it falls apart. But it's like the Mikma, right? They have to have so much patience and poise because they know out in the East Coast, like the weather's going to change on a dime. So you have to be able to adapt to it. You have to be patient enough and wise enough to wait out certain storms. You have to be able to pay attention and observe everything that's going around you so you know what's coming next. But also, they were the first point of contact for the settlers, so they had to be very, very patient. Everything that they're going through up there now, they have had so much that they've gone through, but their patience is starting to pay off. And people are starting to recognize exactly what they've gone through and the sacrifices that they have made, but also the contributions that they've made. And so when we look at the Mikma style, it's really about acknowledging, you know, that patience and perseverance can pay off, about not rushing things, but actually enjoying each moment that we're gifted, because that's how we learn. So yeah, this is the Mikma style drum, but this was painted by Sam Bigetti, and here is the beautiful painting on the front. So I'm really in love with this. Anybody who knows me knows that I always teach a lot of medicine wheel teachings. I teach turtle teachings, and then there's the eagle in here too. So it's stunning, and if nobody wins this bid, I am gonna probably get it myself. But I'm gonna pull it a little closer so that y'all can see. Whoops, and kind of shine the light down on it. So there's like the beautiful mountains in it, that beautiful tail. But I'm just in awe of how gorgeous Sam's work is. And so it's really beautiful when you can collaborate with another artist to create something incredibly beautiful that not one of you could do on your own, but together you're like this driving force. And I think that's really important, that we collaborate more often. I know we're going into this weird mode where we're not technically supposed to collaborate with people, but there's ways to do it. There's ways to do it by just exchanging things. So I just dropped off this to Sam, and he created this beautiful gift. So I'll probably be doing a lot more of that. Yeah, so this is the new drum from Sam and myself, and I'll probably put a picture of it online and start the bidding. Now, usually when I sell 12-inch drums, I usually sell them between $200 to $250, and then Sam's work ranges from about $200 to $250, depending on what he's doing. So we're going to start the bidding at $400 and go up from there, because that's the retail price. So it's absolutely stunning, and it sounds good too. So I'm actually going to sing the Turtle Song, which is the Strong Woman song, because I'm just looking at it and it's kind of inspired me to do that. So the Strong Woman song, it's kind of become an anthem for murdered missing Indigenous women, but originally when it was called the Turtle Song, the turtle represents the woman. It represents our connection to the moon. So there's 28 ridges along the outside of a turtle shell, just like there's 28 days in a moon cycle, and there's 28 days in our moon cycle. There's 13 moons in a year, 13 bumps on the turtle, and of course 13 moons in our own personal cycle. And so it reminds us of that sacredness and that connectivity that we have to Grandmother Moon, to Mother Earth as the life bearer and the life giver, to the turtle because of course she carries us on her back, Turtle Island, this is why we call it that. but also that sacredness that we have. We're so in sync with Mother Earth and Grandmother Moon that we have that own cycle. And it's that reminder of that life-giving, that ability that we have to connect to community and to give of ourselves in a good way. But it also reminds us to replenish ourselves. We need to do that. I think anybody who's a caregiver or a teacher or a mentor needs to recover. We need to recover ourselves. And so the turtle reminds us to do that. The moon reminds us to do that. Because even though she depletes herself, she refills herself as the 28 days continue. And so I will sing the Strongman song. So yeah, thank you, Sam, for painting this wonderful drum for me. I'm going to put it off to the side for right now, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the medicines before we smudge together. So, oh, I didn't even realize I'm wearing turtle earrings today, and I'm wearing a turtle clip in the back of my hair. So, I guess it's a turtle kind of day, guys. Ow. So this is my cute little turtle that I got in Cree country. Got that just outside of Musqueam, so I was very thankful for that. And then these little guys I got at a conference, and they were also made by a Cree lady. I'm going to pull them off. They're so cute. Oops, I'm going to hold that still so you guys can see that little turtle inside. And it's just lovely. So sometimes I like to wear subtle jewelry. Oops, and I'm fuzzy. So I'm going to start talking about the medicines before we smudge together today. And I'm going to slide back so maybe my camera starts to focus. No, it's not going to do that for me today, apparently. All right. So again, when I share my teachings, these are just my teachings. If they make sense to you, awesome. If they don't, that's okay too. This is why we have oral traditions and oral storytelling, because of course, whatever's meant for us, we'll remember. Whatever's not, won't take up space in our brain. There won't be a test. We'll be okay. So that being said, I think it's really important to acknowledge that there's over 300 nations across Turtle Island, and that's just in Canada. Like, that doesn't even count the States. And so All of them have different and unique takes on the medicine wheel. We have different ways of looking at. We have different medicines that are, you know, indigenous to that particular area wherever we come from, and this is why our teachings are different. And so that's why it's really, really important to just acknowledge that it's not right or wrong. It's just different, and this is why it's so important to learn from many different elders and knowledge keepers, and just to really, you know, take in those things that we need. And if it's not meant for us, don't worry, don't force it. If you have to force it, it's probably not the right teaching for you. So that being said, I'm going to start in the east, and then in Cree we travel, we follow the sun, so we'll go east, south, west, and then north. In Mohawk country they go the other way around, and like I said, it's not right or wrong, it's just different, and it's because they reflect the sky, whereas we follow the sun. We're prairie people, so sometimes we can't really see a reflection because there's not a lot of lakes around, and so we'll follow the sky. But in the Great Lakes area, where it's like Mohawk country, it's like 7 nations, there are tons and tons of lakes, and the lakes are sacred, and so that is our common reflection of the sky, so that totally makes sense to where they are. And there's other nations that do the same thing, so it's just about acknowledging that. So that being said, on my medicine wheel in the east, I have sweetgrass, which is for our mind. When we look at the medicine wheel, it's all about balance. So in the east, we have our mind. In the west, we have our heart. And so that's that balance there. It's masculine energy, whereas in the west, we have feminine energy. We have grandfather sun, which is a big ball of fire in the east. Grandmother moon, who, of course, is that reflection in the west, and she controls the tides. So it's all about balance. And so fire and water. That's all that balance, masculine, feminine. But it reminds us that we're a balance of all of those things. We're a balance of our heart and our mind. We're a balance of our physical body and our spirit. And so this is why it's important to acknowledge, and even if I'm not using all of my medicines, I always lay them out to honor them and to honor that balance that they're bringing into the circle. And so, I'm sorry, I keep smelling this. It smells so good. So this is sweetgrass. Beautiful, beautiful sweetgrass. There's lots of teachings around that. And it's the children's medicine, so it really helps kids to learn and to focus. And I know that we're going to be going back into challenging times, and my kids are starting to come back home for in-home learning and online learning, so they're going to miss their friends a lot. So we're going to probably be burning a lot of sweetgrass, because sweetgrass is great for anxiety, it's great for stress, it's great for learning, and just for, you know, taking it easy. If you're ever in a challenging time, if you ever have a lot of anxiety, sweetgrass is like your go-to medicine. It's awesome. Even when I have insomnia, I put a little bit of sweetgrass in my tea at night if I can't sleep at all. Usually if I've had coffee too late in the day. But it really does help just to calm my mind, and so I can actually sleep at night. So that is sweetgrass, which is awesome. And yeah, I have lots going into the season, so I'm very, very thankful and grateful. Yeah, and the next medicine that we have, this is cedar. So this is a nice little bundle of cedar. And I will show a little bit bigger bundle of cedar. So yay, cedar. Cedar is our body medicine. It is great for, you can put it in tea, and it's wonderful for anything having to do with like chest congestion or coughs, colds, aches, pains, flushes out flus, flushes out cold. It's great. It's antibacterial, antifungal, and antiviral, which is probably why it's so good. It has an antihistamine in it, so I use it a lot in the transition time between spring and also in the fall, when all of the things start changing, my allergies go crazy. Usually it's the snow mold in the spring, and it's always the leaves, the scrunchiness of them, where they look really pretty, but they are not pretty for my lungs. So I use a lot of cedar tea in the spring and in the fall. It's really amazing. It has like a numbing agent in it, so if you have to sore or itchy throat, it actually coats your throat, and it cools your throat, and it numbs it. If you have a toothache, you can chew it, put it against your gums. It actually numbs your gums. And because it's antibacterial, antifungal, and antiviral, it actually helps treat tooth decay as well. So it was what we used to brush our teeth. And I noticed that on days when I'm actually drinking a lot of cedar tea, my teeth are really white. Who knew? So I love cedar for that. It's good outside your body as well. So just boil it and put it in your bath if you have like rashes, sore muscles. It's good for eczema. It's good for pretty much anything. Honestly, I love it. I use a lot of it. But don't overuse it. And it's really important too to know that if you're chewing on it, make sure you spit it out afterwards, because if you're actually ingesting it, it takes a lot to digest it. So this is why we only use it in tea. To actually eat it, sometimes it can cause like nausea because your stomach's just like, nah, this is too much of a good thing. So it'll get rid of it. So in moderation. This is why I boil it on the stove and I just keep using the same sprigs over and over for a couple days, and it lasts. It's great. So that's in the south. That's our body. That's our adolescence. I'm praying for the adolescents going in because, of course, the shutdown is going to be from grades 7 to 12. And this is the essential age of really developing who you are and understanding your community and your place in community. So it's going to be a challenge for those kids, for those youth, to really define who they are. And Cedar really helps us to do that because it reminds us of the connection that we have to the earth. It reminds us how to connect to our physical bodies. And when we're in our adolescence, that's when we actually physically change the most. But it also reminds us that we all have our own path. We all have to learn where we're going in our own way. And unfortunately, social media kind of bombards our youth with the comparison to others, and they have to really appreciate who they are. And so that's our challenge as parents, I think. So that's cedar. In the west, we have sage. I have several different kinds of sage. So this is white sage. This is probably what you see most of all in stores because it grows like crazy. I used to pick this in the middle of the desert when I lived in Arizona. But today I'm only smudging with buffalo sage, which we used to have it in abundance. But of course, now that the snow has fallen, it's kind of hard to find. But every so often when the snow melts, you can actually find some up on Nose Hill. And it almost looks like really, really white and bleached. And it's really good for putting in sweats because it's so dry. It's great. But yeah, so I've already rolled a lovely ball of the buffalo sage. What I really love about it too is it doesn't smell like much when you pick it or when it's on the stem, but as soon as you pick it off, like pull off the leaves and roll it in your hand, it smells amazing. I just love that smell. It's just so fresh. It's kind of like borderline minty, but like sweet, and I love it. And then the last medicine that we have is tobacco. And tobacco is our spirit medicine. Oh, I forgot to say. So in the West, that's the women's medicine. That's our connection to the moon. It's connection to the water. It's our connection to our emotions. And it reminds us that our tears are sacred. If our tears are coming, let them flow, because that's our strength. It shows that we need to release something. Also, it's our reminder that we connect to other people through our tears. It shows that we actually care. It shows that we're compassionate. Without our emotions, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have strong relationships or friendships. We wouldn't, have that unconditional love for other people. But also, it's important to love ourselves. And sometimes we have to release those tears to remind ourselves that we are worthy of love. Yeah. So that's the West. And in the North, that's our spirit medicine, which is tobacco. This was actually gifted to me from the girls' school, which I was really, really thankful. All girls school here in Calgary. Really wonderful. It's good to see like that, our youth are really being supported in who they are, and being allowed to thrive. But I was really thankful for this tobacco. It's that spirit medicine, so we pray with it. We use it to gift to other people to say thank you from our spirit to their spirit. If somebody shares a story or a song or a prayer, it's so that you can honor the fact that they're carrying that ancestral knowledge and that ancestral gift forward. And so it's a blessing to receive that. I actually wanted to share the tobacco story. And so tobacco really helps us to pray. It helps us to be humble. It helps us to let go and really deeply connect to Creator and to ourselves, to our inner spirit. So the story behind tobacco is many, many years ago, when all of the plants and animals were starting to get gifted, the different things that they could do. Creator knew that we as two-leggeds needed to figure out how to pray. We needed to learn how to pray, and we needed, you know, a plant to show us how to do that, or an animal. He wasn't quite sure who. And so he put it out there. He's like, okay, like plants and animals, like we need somebody who's going to be able to carry prayers, not only to the two-leggeds from the earth, but also to me. And so all of the animals started saying, okay, well, I'm the biggest animal, or, you know, I have the most gifts, or I'm the strongest, or I don't hibernate, or I do hibernate, so I'm a gift. So as all of the animals were arguing, well, it stirred all of the plants to argue. So all of the plants started arguing, well, I have the best medicinal purposes, or, you know, I grow the fastest, or I'm available in winter. And so they're arguing back and forth on who was the best plant. And so as all of these plants and animals started arguing, the tiny little tobacco plant kind of strode her way up to Creator and said, Creator, I know I'm not better than any of these animals. And I know I'm not better than any of these plants. I mean, I don't have a heartbeat like these animals, but I still pulse with the earth, and I'm thankful for that. And I know that all of these other plants, I mean, they're amazing. They can be used for medicine, they can be used to eat, they can be used as smoke. But Creator, you can't use me for any of that. I'm not healthy. You know, you can't eat me, you can't drink me, you can't smoke me, you can't put me in tea, you can't do anything with me, Creator. So I want to be useful. Please, Creator, I come to you with humility. Please make me useful, Creator, because I want to gift back to these two-leggeds in the way that you've gifted me my life. And so Creator thought for a moment, and he was so humbled, and he was so thankful for the genuine gift that of sacrifice that tobacco had offered, the humility that tobacco had come with, knowing that she wasn't greater or less than anyone else. In fact, she thought she was less than everyone else. But giving her the gift of prayer was her gift that she was going to share with the two-leggeds. And so as she came down to earth, and she shared the teachings of how to pray. She shared how to gift tobacco in a meaningful way. She shared how to pray with tobacco, how we burn it in the pipe but never breathe it in because it's disrespectful, because it is the spirit medicine. How we blow it down our bodies to smudge with it, or blow it over ourselves to smudge with it. But also how when we lay it down on the ground to gift something back to those plants, she protects those plants. She helps them to grow bigger and stronger. She's high in phosphorus, potassium, and nitrogen. But also she has an enzyme to actually stop bugs from eating certain plants. And so this is why we're always gifting things to our gardens and to our plants, to help them grow bigger and stronger and to protect them. And so this is why tobacco became our very sacred plant. And so she's a gift. And so we always lay her down beside us. I tend to always wrap my tobacco. I was gifted just a bag of tobacco, and I had kind of kept it unwrapped so that I could show, but for the most part all my other tobacco is wrapped. That's just to keep our spirit humble, because our spirit's on the inside, not on the outside. But that being said, I'm going to bring over my smudge bowl and slide this forward. And so this is my lovely smudge bowl. And it represents all four directions. We have the bowl itself, which is water. And I use a shell, but other people have used rocks or skillets or whatever you feel comfortable using. Sometimes it's like, you know, a bowl with sand in it. It's whatever is comfortable for you and whatever your teachings, whatever your teachings are. And so then whatever medicine that we put in the bowl, I'm using sage, but as soon as it goes in the bowl, it represents earth, because it's connected to the earth, it grows from the earth. When we light it on fire, it represents fire, of course, which is our mind. And then the smoke going up to Creator is our prayers. And so that's spirit, it's air. And like, there's no right or wrong way to smudge. It's whatever feels good to you. Oop, if I can open this. Nope. There we go. And I also have this beautiful fungus, fungus that comes from up north. And I actually haven't used it yet, but I think I'm going to be using it sometime this week, because I have a lot of stuff that I need to pray on and work on and try and figure out some plans of attack for sharing. Because I really want to share traditional teachings and knowledge and drum making and medicine bag making and rattle making, but I'm going to have to think of creative ways to do it, so I'm going to be praying on that a lot this week. And that being said, when we smudge, no right or wrong way to smudge. It's whatever feels good to you. It's asking for the things that you need in your life and getting rid of the things that you don't. So you're getting rid of anxiety. You're asking for, answers. I always use matches. We don't want to use a lighter, just because it kind of dishonors its. We're not supposed to have that kind of thing from the earth. But if you're in a pinch and you really only have a lighter, then you can just light a sage stem or light a stick or something like that on fire, and then light the smudge. It's a little bit more respectful to the medicines. And so that being said, I'm going to just smudge my hands first, so that anything I'm carrying I get rid of. I bring it over my body 4 times to honor the 4 directions in my body. Again, there's no right or wrong way to smudge. This is just how I smudge. This is a long smudge. My kids, sometimes they just bring it over their body. They smudge their mind. They smudge their heart. They smudge their belly button. And then they say, thanks, Mom. And then they kind of move on with their day. But yeah, I do a long smudge. So the next thing I want to do is I want to smudge my mind so I can think clearly and learn from every person that crosses my path. So I can be open to all of the teachings that surround me. And so I can be not rigid with my thinking, but fluid. I smudge my ears so I can be open to hear all of the messages Creator sends me. I'm very thankful for my hearing this lifetime, so I can be open to hear all of the voices of the plants, animals, and my ancestors. I smudge my eyes because I'm very thankful for my vision this lifetime, so I can see clearly all of the beauty that surrounds me, so I can see all of the gifts in front of me, and I can honor the path laid out in front of me as well. I smudge my nose so I can smell danger and cookies. I think also part of that is your intuition. Sometimes you just smell it when something's off. I smudge my mouth so I can speak only true and kind words that are helpful and benefit mankind. If it's truthful, helpful, and kind, you can do it. You can say it. If it's none of those things, don't do it, don't say it. It's also so my words are clear and precise and help. Smudge my throat because I'm very thankful for my voice this lifetime, as I give voice to the voiceless as an activist, but also I'm very thankful for my singing voice. And I know my voice is changing a little bit, so I'm getting a lot of cracks over the last year, and it's really been unsettling to me, so I'm just hoping that process kind of moves along. I'm going to smudge my lungs so I breathe good, clean air. Also with my asthma, the more we stay indoors, the more my cats are like, I love you, and shedding everywhere, so it makes it hard for me to breathe a little bit, but man, I love them. You gotta love them. And so I pray that my lungs heal in a good way. I smudge my heart so I can remain kind and compassionate and show unconditional love to all those that cross my path, my family, my friends, those I haven't met yet, my future generations, but also so I can show kindness and compassion to myself and unconditional love to myself. So I think that's probably one of the hardest things for anybody, is that self-love piece. Smudge my stomach so all of the food that I eat this day will nourish my body. Smudge my womanhood because I'm very thankful to be a woman and a mother in this time, even though I'm a two-spirit woman, and I am very fluid with my gender at points. I know that my physical body has brought my children into this world, and I am thankful for that. I'm going to smudge my shoulders and my back so that I can carry all of the responsibilities that Creator's gifted me with grace and humility. I smudge my arms and my hands so I can continue to do the good work that Creator's put me here to do with strength. Also, so that I can make beautiful things in a good way with my hands. Very thankful to be an artist. I'm going to smudge my legs so I can walk this red road in a good way. That's the path of Aboriginal spirituality. I'm going to smudge my feet so I stay grounded and connected to Mother Earth, treading lightly upon her and honoring her with every step. And then if there's anywhere else in your body that you need a little extra love, so my mid back is a little sore. I've been cutting out a lot of medicine bags, and it's made my arm really sore because I've got like the hammer going and I'm tracing everything, so I'm hunched over. So it's taking its toll on my body because I'm not doing it as regularly as I'd like to be. Yeah, and also my hips because I'm had multiple hip surgeries. I just want my hips to be better. And of course, anyone that you want to send love and appreciation to, just hold them in your heart and send all of that energy to them. If there's maybe, um, someone you can't see for a while and you think of them, send them a message. Say, hello, them. Hey, Sam, I'll see you tomorrow. And then when you're done, you just say thank you in your language. So I would say hi hi or chimagwich, or if you could say merci. That's also another language I grew up with. But however you say thank you in your language, because that's your power. Your power is your language. I'm going to share a quick little story when I was smudging my feet and why I giggled a little bit. So I was wearing my moccasins, which I haven't really worn them a lot, but I wore them almost for 2 days straight, and I traipsed through a lot of snow, and everywhere I would walk I would leave these little pink footprints behind. So I was like, I'm walking the pink road. But because there was one day that I actually had them on for almost 8 hours and they were wet, they started to soak into my feet, and so the bottom of my feet are like bright red. So when I was at the sweat on the weekend, they were laughing that maybe I was just walking the red road too much. So it was good. But yeah, very thankful for that. So I wanted to share the bear song, just because the bear's been on my mind a lot lately. So I know with everything kind of happening where we kind of have to go back into our caves and only spend time with our family members, or the people who are in our cohort. It's such a school term to use the term cohort, but so as we're in our families, as we're in our groups, as we're in our caves, the bear has a lot of teachings about that. It teaches us that sometimes it's important to be able to just rebuild and reassess and come back to the essence of our being. And so the bear preps. He spends all of this time through the spring, summer, and then into the fall preparing for those winter months. And so as he goes into hibernation, it's really about that time of self-reflection. And maybe we're just being called into that self-reflection again. Maybe it's that time that we need to reconnect with ourselves, with our family, with what's important, and also acknowledge that we have to keep everybody safe. We have to keep everybody interconnected, even from a distance. But safety is really, really important. The bear taught us that. I mean, in the winter, there's not a lot of socializing and getting out of your teepee that you would do back in the day, because it was cold. Occasionally if it was a nice day you would go hunting, but you would always have all of your stuff prepared for a cold winter because you would watch the bear and you would know, okay, it's going to be a brutal winter, let's over prepare, and everything that we needed was there for us. And so now it's almost that coming back to that way of knowing of sometimes we have to be on our own. We have to only be with our families in the winter, so that we have a fresh start and a fresh connection when we go into the spring. And it's interesting how Mother Earth teaches us things and she comes back to those traditional teachings in ways that we might not expect. And it's funny how everything happens that way. Even with myself, my whole life I knew that I was meant to have twin girls. And the older I got, I was like, okay, well, that's probably never going to happen. And then only in the past year, I was gifted with two fabulous twin girls who moved in with me in February, right before the lockdown. So you're never sure quite how the world or how Mother Earth or Creator is going to work, because it's in strange ways and it's in really different ways. But whatever's meant to be will happen. And that's why it's really important to honor that and respect that and trust it, and trust yourself too. Trust that intuition. Because there was a time when we were supposed to go visit someone and I had a really bad feeling, and I'm like, you know what, no, we're not going to, we're not we're not going to go there. We're just going to, you know, hang here. We're going to stay home. We're not going to drive all the way to Edmonton, because I just had a weird feeling. And sure enough, the gathering that all the people that we were going to visit were at, everyone got COVID. So there was a reason I trust my intuition that time. So trust it. But back to the bear, which I actually heard a really lovely story about the bear and how the bear is in the sky. So I'm going to share it. I'm going to have to kind of meditate on it a little bit more, pray on it a little bit more, so I might just completely kill it. But the reason that the bear hibernates and the reason that the fall is what it is because of this story. So a long time ago, Muskwa was really, really huge. There was this one Muskwa, this one bear that was just out of hand. Like, he was ridiculously big, and he wasn't honoring the ways of the bear, and so many of the bear had just walked away from him and said, you know, we don't want anything to do with you. You're not listening to our traditional teachings. You're overtaking, you know, you're taking more than what you need from the earth. You're devastating animal populations. You're devastating plant populations. You're scaring all of the two-leggeds, and you're eating the two-leggeds, and we're not supposed to eat the two-leggeds unless we're in danger. But this bear was just not listening, and he thought he was above Creator. He thought he was above Wasakajak. And so he just started devastating everything. And then Creator came down and told the two-leggeds, all right, well, 7 of your best warriors are going to have to get together and take this bear out. And then the birds came down and said, okay, well, we're going to help as well. And so there were birds kind of scouting ahead, and there were birds starting to chase this bear. And once the bear realized that the birds were chasing him to scout him out and to tell the hunters where he was, and then the hunters were right behind them, he started to run, and he ran faster and faster and faster. And as he began to run, he probably went around the earth 4 times, the same amount as the sun. And so as he started to get tired on the 4th turn, he started to walk slower and slower and slower, but he was still fierce, and he was really vicious, and he wanted to make sure that he took out the hunters. And so the birds knew that the only way to slow him down was somebody had to injure him, had to mortally wound him, essentially. And so many of the birds were diving and trying to get at him. You know, the hawk was trying to get there, and the raven was trying to get at him, and the eagle was trying to get at him, and all of these really big, beautiful birds of prey with very sharp beaks were attempting and failing. And then finally, the little robin, who at the time was completely brown, was like, well, he's not expecting me, so let me try. And so the robin flew at the bear and stabbed the bear right in the heart. And as the bear's blood flowed all over his fur, he shook himself hard, hard, hard. And as he shook himself, all of the different leaves started to catch the blood and began to change color. And so this is how our leaves change color in the autumn, is because of that bear shaking himself off all over these leaves. And then he knew that he had to run away, because there was no way that he was going to survive those 7 hunters coming at him. So he took to the sky. He ran faster and faster and faster, with that little bird following him at his heels. And of course the hunters followed him into the sky as well. And then the bear became the Big Dipper. And then up in the corner, all of those beautiful hunters and those beautiful birds who had tried to track him down ended up making an arch to guard the earth from this horrible bear, so that he wouldn't come back down and cause havoc. Now that bird was such a gift. When that bear shook himself, a splash of his blood hit that bird's chest, and this is why the robin has that red chest. But also, Creator wanted to gift that bird that representation of sharing, and that honor, that gift of chasing that bear into the sky. And so this is why the robin's egg is bright blue, to match the sky, but also has all of the speckles to honor the stars in which the robin stays. And this is also why the robin always comes back first in the spring, to make sure that none of those bears take on what that bear did and, you know, cause a lot of trouble. And so that's the story. I know I'm going to get the story a little bit better later, but, you know, that's the beginning of it. And so, all right, I'm going to use Sam's drum again, and I'm going to share the bear song.
Now, I thought this was the Ojibwe bear song, but I've heard it in Cree as well, and it's the same. So this is the bear song. It's fun. So, I'm going to share another story and another song. And oh my gosh, that time went fast today. I'm going to share the Chickadee Song. So, the chickadee teaches us, I don't know, to me it represents children. So the story that I know about the chickadee is there was a hunter and his wife, and they went hunting, but they ended up hunting way more than they should have. They had their children with them, and they thought, okay, well, we hunted probably twice as much stuff as we should have, so it's going to take us twice as long to get the stuff home, but if we leave the children with the extra, well, we take it back to the village and then come back for the children and the food afterwards, which should be great. And so before they left, the father let his sons know, as he had 2 sons and 1 daughter. His father said, okay, you guys can play, you guys will have lots of food, because of course we hunted lots and lots of food, so there's plenty there. Make sure you watch your sister, because they had a younger sister, but also don't go out at high noon, because when the sun is in the sky at its highest, this is when it has the most power. And because us as parents aren't there to protect you, you have to protect yourselves by staying in the teepee when that sun is at its highest point. And the boys, of course, agreed. But we all know how kids go. We're like, yeah, we're listening. Are you? Really? And then the mother went to the little girl and said, all right, my daughter, I want you to be safe. Take it easy on your brother. Don't play too many tricks on them, and don't run away from them too often. And make sure at night you stay in the teepee, especially when the moon is at its highest, because when the moon is at its very highest, she sometimes plays tricks. And because I'm not here to protect you from the moon, something might happen. And the little girl wasn't really paying attention, but she's like, yeah, it's fine. And so the parents left. And the first night, everything was fine. They listened to their parents' instructions. The boys didn't go out at high noon when the sun was at the highest point in the sky. The little girl didn't go out when it was at night when the moon was at the highest point in the sky. And they had pretty much listened. The second day, they got a little bit more daring, and they got pretty close to the height of the moon and the height of the sun, but they were always in the teepee and waited an hour for it to pass. But then the third day, when the boys woke up, they noticed that their sister was missing. And so they looked everywhere, all over the camp, to try and find their sister. They looked high and low, and they were looking and calling her name, but they could not find her anywhere. They were so busy looking at all of her best hiding spaces that they'd actually lost track of the sun, which was behind a cloud, being sneaky. And then, as grandfather's sun came out, he was at his highest point and shone down on the boys. And then they started to notice that they were a little bouncier, that they were a little gigglier. They started to laugh a lot, and they noticed their voices start to change. Until, as they were calling out, all you could hear was Chickadee-dee-dee-dee-dee. And then they started to laugh even harder. And then they tried to call out again, Ew! And then they tried to call out again, Cheeseburger! But no matter how they called out, they couldn't call each other or their sister again. They had a different voice. And as they looked down, they had different feathers. They had feathers! Not different, feathers! And no matter what they did, to try and change themselves back, they shook, they ran, and they jumped in puddles. They tried to pick at the meat to eat it, to try and turn themselves back, but they couldn't. And then, at night, they still continued to look for their sister, but they started to get very tired. And they couldn't go back into their teepee because it was too heavy to lift the front of it. And so they had to stay outside. And then they heard a very soft and sad woo-hoo, woo-hoo. As they looked up in the sky, in the tree, they saw a beautiful snowy owl. And they knew that was their sister. It had the same big eyes that their sister had, and the same pretty call that their sister had when she was playing tricks on them. Woo-hoo, woo-hoo. And they knew that she had left the teepee at high noontime, and the moon had snuck up behind her from behind those clouds and caught her by surprise and turned her into the owl. When the father and his wife came back, they noticed their children were missing, and they stayed and they called out throughout the day and throughout the night, and all they heard in response was two funny little birds saying chickadee-dee-dee-dee, dee-boo-boo. And then at night all they heard was a very sorrowful owl, and they knew that that was their children, and they knew it was because they came out and didn't listen. They came out when the moon was at its highest, when the sun was at its highest, and they had lost themselves. They were filled with such sorrow that they begged and pleaded with the beautiful sun and the beautiful moon to bring their kids back. But the moon and sun said they were a gift, and they now were going to last forever as warnings to all of the children to follow. And so that is the story of the chickadee and the owl. It's a little dark, kind of like German fairy tales, a little dark, just kidding. So this song is the Chickadee Song, and this is a song that came to me in ceremony. I was in a sweat and, drumming and singing through all the rounds, but I was praying for a song, and every time, the flap would go up, we would hear these chickadees. And then the third round, it was really, really hot, so everybody kind of left the third round, and then these little chickadees actually started coming in and out of the front of the sweat. And I was like, oh, so this is your song. So this reminds me of being joyful. It reminds me of listening to the warnings that people give us, listening to each other. It's about communication, because the chickadees are excellent communicators. This is why they take those pauses in between one talking to another talking. They listen to each other. And they teach us that we have two ears and one mouth for a reason. So this is a beautiful song to share with kids. And it's done as a call and response, but I'm going to just, hopefully you guys are singing at home. Happy-o, ho, ho, 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 happy-o, ho, ho. Way-o, way-o, Hi everybody. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I always love to record it, so please feel free to share, or if you want to refer back to it. I'm hoping to get those stories a little bit better for next time, but thank you guys so much for sharing, and oh, it's such a blessing to be able to share in this format. Honestly, it's kept me a little bit sane. So just because I miss so much being able to share and drum and sing with people, and it gives me that moment to just connect. And even if it's just like a few thank yous, I really, really appreciate, being able to share in this way. And I couldn't imagine not being able to. So hi everybody, Chimagwitch, and I will see you next Tuesday. Have a beautiful, beautiful week, and good luck with everything, adjusting to our new normal, which nothing's normal about it, but we gotta listen to the bear, we gotta listen to Mother Earth. There's a reason these things are happening. So it's just honoring the path ahead and knowing that we have each other. And even if we're in our separate little bubbles, we still have amazing lines of communication. So we have to thank, the internet, which is our web. And so I always say thank you to Actome, thank you to the spider for that web of connection that we have. So hi everybody. Have a beautiful, beautiful week. And Chimagwitch again. Bye.